are designed to capture smooth cinematic images, but what if your subject is fast moving or you want to complete a long and continuous dive? These things are just not gonna cut it. That's where you'll need a 5-inch freestyle drone, and SpeedyBee has just that with their Mario5 BNF. So let's open this up and see how it looks. Okay, so here it is, the Mario5 BNF, and this is not entirely a new drone by SpeedyBee. In fact, they've released their frame kit along in the past. I've actually done a full series of videos showing you how to build that specific frame for yourself. I'll leave this link above and below so you can take a look at it. Now, this comes in two different versions, both as a dead cat as well as an X version. Today we do have the dead cat version, and mine says Mario5 DC, which is dead cat 03 plug and play. So this comes with the 03 air unit and a plug and play version, meaning that if you have a DJI controller, you can just bind it to the drone and you're good to go. In my case, I do fly with the Express LRS protocol, so I'll have to install a receiver into my drone to make this work with my existing controllers. So let's get this open and see what's inside. Okay, and there it is, the drone right there in front of you. First thing I see here are some propellers here, and these are the Juicy products by HQ. There's no spares, just 4, so in case you do crash your drone, you might want to buy some extras. Next, we have some hardware here. Looks like the actual nuts for the propellers, as well as some extra bolts here to secure the motors to the frame. Pretty cool that they have extras in here. We have, looks like, some side panels for this drone. It does have some already included in here. Last but not least, we have a harness here, and this might apply specifically to my situation here, where you can actually connect your receiver to this and just plug this straight into the flight controller. I think that's what this is for. Besides that, we have the drone right here, all in a kind of a wrap on the board here. And then below here, we have 2 battery straps. Pretty cool, they have 2 of them here. Besides that, we have a quality control card that says pass on here. Okay, so here it is, the Mario5 Dead Cat. And this thing looks pretty amazing. I like the fact that they have it in a wrap here. The real story here, guys, is the fact that SpeedyBee has been making components for these drones for years. Very affordable and reliable components. And this is one of the few drones that they've made as a BNF. So this is kind of a special moment for SpeedyBee. Okay, so here it is, the Mario5 Dead Cat, and this thing looks really familiar, and that's only because I've actually built one for myself in the past, and it looks almost identical. Now, that's one of the benefits of going with a BNF, is that you know you're gonna get a neater product, and the manufacturer will use the right parts like motors and actually wires and the right flight controller to suit this application. Not only that, they're gonna put a proper tune on here so you can just plug this up and take it for a flight, opposed to me just trying to tune this thing overall. So you are gonna get an overall better product with the BNF, and I wish they had this available a lot sooner. Now, besides that, at first glance, you can see all the warnings on here, which is pretty cool if you're a first-time pilot. You have one that says, you know, this is a 6S battery, as well as a warning back here saying that do not overheat the VTX. So if you're gonna plug this in, make sure you get into the air as soon as possible. This is pretty cool as before for newer pilots, and something we've seen before on other manufacturers like iFlight, and I'm glad to see SpeedyBee actually including this in their bind and fly drones. Now, one thing I noticed here is that with the BNF, it seems like SpeedyBee has thrown everything at this drone here. We're talking about all the pro options on this one. Now, I built this one here, and it came with the advanced options, like this side panels in here. This is like a steel or alloy panel here, and it actually allows airflow to go to the flight controller, but there actually is some additional options on here, like these side plates that was in the pro model, as well as this heatsink here on the back to help and cool this 03 air unit. So with this BNF, it looks like SpeedyBee threw everything at it, which is really cool in my opinion. Now, as far as specifications of the Mario5 Dead Cat, this one here has a 2306.5 motors, good for 1880 kV. That jives with a 6S battery, and that's what we saw here on the label on this XT60 connector. Now, connected to the motor is the flight controller and ESC setup. This one here has the F45V4 stack, and I've done a full review on that one, and it's packed with features. We're talking about altimeter, memory, even Bluetooth to sync this to your mobile device or a tablet, so you can actually tune this thing in the field. Besides that, it also has the 55 amp ESC, which is more than adequate for a 5-inch drone. In the front here, we have the DJI 03 Air camera, and this is pretty much the standard in the FPV world. Now, this thing captures 4K images at 60 frames per second, and it can be stabilized both in the DVR as well using your stabilization program like GyroFlow. Now in the back here, we do have the DJI Air unit here. As I said before, we have this heat sink in the back here to dissipate the heat. And then we have the antenna mast here for the O3 Air unit as well. This whole setup here is pretty amazing and is kind of the standard currently in the industry if you want to capture cinematic images. Now, if for some reason you're on a professional shoot or just not satisfied with the image from the camera right here, then you have a full-size action camera mount right here where you can install a GoPro or maybe a DJI action camera on here to get even higher resolution and better details. And this is a 5-inch drone, so this thing can carry those full-size action cameras. Now, right behind the action camera mount, you have your battery leads. This is an XT60 connector. Behind here, you have your compartment here for your receiver. And this will apply to my case specifically. You can connect your Express LRS receiver right here and actually see the status light of that receiver in this kind of transparent window right here. This is a nice drone, guys. This thing is really girthy and big. We're talking about 6mm arms and 2.5mm top and bottom plate. So it's a strong drone overall, guys. Now in front, the antenna here for the O3 unit is a spot here for GPS. Now this is available with their TPU here. And I probably would recommend that just because this is such a premium setup right here for this entire drone. So I'll install the receiver in this right now and let's take it for a flight. Okay, so we're back from our flight test and the Mario5 did a good job. Now the whole point of a dead cat frame is to capture your subject almost like a Cinewhoop, but to have the agility, speed, and capabilities of a 5-inch freestyle drone. And the Mario5 does that very well. This thing is maneuverable and can keep up with fast moving subjects like cars and even bikes. This thing is pretty amazing and very, very powerful. Now talking about powerful, these motors and prop combination did a really good job. Never wanted to ask for any more power. And this thing recovers very easily after a maneuver like a dive or even some power loop. So this thing here is really a really good match for this drone overall. Now talking about motors, I did get some resonance from these motors, or maybe the frame, at certain RPMs. So around 32 to 38% on my throttle. I did get some kind of vibration or kind of jello in the image going to my O3 camera. Now, I don't know what's causing that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later once we talk about the image quality from the O3 camera on here. But overall, the Mario5 behaved like a powerful drone that we all expect from a 5-inch freestyle frame. So with that said, the Mario5, it flew pretty well. Okay, so let's talk about the image quality of the Mario5. Now, the dead cat frame here is designed to provide an obstruction-free image, and the Mario5 does that very, very well. Even in the widest field of view of the O3 camera, there's no props or anything in view. Now, some of the other Cinewhoops have some issues with that, showing ducks in view, but I'm proud to announce that this thing here is obstruction-free, really good for cinematic capturing. Now at this point, we do know what to expect from the O3 camera. This thing has been on the market for a few years and it did deliver. At this point, it's kind of the industry standard. We're talking about a 4K image at 60 frames per second. Now I did fly this thing in different settings. First of all, I did lock my white balance to around 56K, and I did fly it with and without an ND filter. But in either case, the image was pretty good and very, very sharp. Maybe a little bit too sharp. So if I were to do this all over again, I probably would reduce the sharpness just a little bit lower. But overall, the image here was really good overall. Now, earlier I mentioned about a little bit of vibration going to this camera, and I still don't know why that's happening. Around the 32 to 38% throttle, I got a little bit of vibration in my FPV feed, and that also kind of translates to the DVR on here as well. Now, I did bring some tools to the flying field with me to do some tweaking, maybe change the tightness on the camera, see if these motors were a little bit loose. I thought that was the real reason. And also check the arms to see if they were loose as well. But these things were all tight and secure. I actually came home and installed these new props. As you can see, this is not the one that came in the bag. And I still have the vibration at that specific throttle range. But I'll do some more investigating and digging to see what's causing that. But overall, the image from this is pretty good. So this might just be a one-off for my case here, but I do have to say that that did occur. Now, talking about payload and carrying weight, let's talk about the battery life on the Mario5. Now, I flew this drone with a few batteries, anything from 1100 all the way to 1300. And this thing gave me flight times as you would expect from a 5-inch kind of freestyle drone. We're talking about 5.5 minutes to around 6 minutes of flight time. Now, guys, this thing here is kind of a power-hungry kind of drone. Obviously, it's a 5-inch drone. It does draw a lot of current. And I did fly with some of my old and tired batteries, and that thing did draw it down pretty good. There was some significant sag with these older batteries. But I do have some newer ones here, and that was eliminated with these newer ones. And I got this before 5.5 to 6 minutes of flight time. So pretty much what you would expect from a typical 5-inch drone, which is pretty normal. Now, as far as the RS link on the Mario 5, well, this doesn't come with obviously a receiver. This is a plug and play version. I did have to install my Express LRS. Now, I did that off camera, but my whole experience with this was pretty much perfect. It was easy as pie, as they say. As I said before, we did see that little harness. I did solder that harness to my receiver. It's right under here. All I had to do was just remove this cap right here, and there was a plug right here, plugged it into that harness, and I was good to go. This thing worked flawlessly. In fact, this drone was already configured for that receiver. So in the ports tab, it was receiver 2, it was already checked off, and I was good to go. So it's as simply as just doing that, installing your receiver, and this thing fits really nice back here with this TPU mount. So overall, Express LRS is the way to go. I had perfect signal, never wanted to have a fail-safe, and never wanted to have a concern of losing my drone. At the same time, you do have this hole here for the GPS. So if you have another radio link, then you might want to get that GPS installed here. But still, if you don't have like a DJI controller, I do think Express LRS is the way to go, guys. Okay, so overall, what do I think about the Mario 5? Well, I do think that this is a capable drone, fast enough to capture fast-moving subjects like cars and bikes, maybe some skiers. It's really capable. It has the ability and agility like a freestyle drone, yet has the ability to capture those images like a cinema, meaning there's no props in view. This thing is really amazing, guys. It's aesthetically pleasing. You have these LEDs on the side, and you also have the ability here to install a GPS receiver. And this thing does have O3 with it, so it's pretty much the standard for range and penetration, guys. Exactly what you need when you're gonna do some filming. Now, if you want something a little bit slower, maybe something you can fly indoors, then you have the SpeedyBee B25. This thing here is pretty cool. I've done a full review on it, and I'll leave a link right here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.